call the Board of Education meeting of the Parsippany Troy Hills Board of Education to order on Thursday, December 14th, 2023. In compliance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act in the following manner. A meeting notice was published in the newspaper and on the district website on January 6, 2023. In addition, the notice of the meeting was posted at the municipal building, in the schools, and a copy of the notice filed with the township clerk and transmitted to other newspapers on November 20th, 2023. The Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and Parsippany Focus, Tap into Parsippany, Patch, and the district website. This regular public board meeting is being video recorded as per bylaw 0168. Recordings of these meetings will be available on our district website and on our Video on the Go YouTube channel. We ask that you please refrain from using student or staff names in your public statement. Professionalism is expected at all times. May we have the roll call, please?
Mrs. Abraham?
Here.
Mr. DeVito?
Here.
Mrs. Mayer?
Here.
Mrs. Orm?
Here.
Mr. Rea?
Here.
Mrs. Chappelle?
Here.
Mrs. Von Aiken?
Here.
Mrs. Golder?
Here.
Mrs. Kogan?
Here. Please stand for the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have student committee reports. Miss Emily.
Hello, I hope the lead up to the holiday season has been treating everyone well. PHS has been very busy these past few weeks. Girls and boys basketball hosted their tryouts on November 20th and 21st. National Art Honor Society held a free art Friday on the 1st, where members displayed drawings and any who found one could keep it. STEM Pathways had a marble run competition on the 6th, where members used paper towel rolls to construct a marble run that lasts the longest amount of time. Pure Buddies had a field trip on the 8th, where members and buddies did their holiday shopping together. The Spanish Honor Society held a toy drive where homerooms were encouraged to bring toys in for children in need. The homeroom with the most toys received a bagel breakfast. Coding Club hosted their Hour of Code event on the 11th. The sophomore class held an ice cream social on the 8th to fundraise for their future dances. The winter drama, 12 Angry Jurors, was performed on the 7th, 8th, and 9th. The Italian Club is making Strufoli on the 19th. The spring musical auditions are on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The following PHS band students successfully auditioned into the North Jersey area band: Wind Ensemble, Ian Ali, first chair bass clarinet, first chair overall, and Chloe Young, second chair overall. The Symphonies band were Christian Jacobo, clarinet, AJ Roman, clarinet, Carlos Ramirez, first chair baritone sax, and Dominic Caponegro, tuba. The band and choir held their winter concert on the 12th and performed again yesterday during first block classes. The junior class is hosting a movie night this Friday to fundraise for our dance. We're watching Home Alone and providing hot chocolate and popcorn with the $5 admission. Today, the freshman class hosted Pictures with Santa at lunch for a $5 donation and a free crumble cookie. UNICEF is hosting their annual movie night and card decorating event on the 20th, where members can watch Polar Express, decorate cards, and enjoy free snacks. Unified Bowling had their interest meeting on the 13th for their season starting early January. French Club has a field trip Friday, going to watch a Broadway play in New York. We are having a Deck the Halls Battle of the Classes from 7 to 8:30, where each grade is given a hallway to decorate. The freshman hall is themed blue, sophomores are red, juniors are white, seniors are holiday themed, and staff, as I've seen so far, does not have a set theme, but they get the main hallway. And we are having a Winter Spirit Week next week. Monday will be Sweater Day, Tuesday is Pajama Day, Wednesday, Winter Accessories Day, Thursday is PHS Gear / Holiday Socks Day, and Friday, Little White Lies / New Year's Resolutions Day. That's all. Happy holidays.
Oh, thank you. Sounds like a lot going on there. Are there any questions from our student? No questions. Thank you for your report, and happy holidays to you as well. We're about to have our presentation, but I did notice we have a town council member in our midst, so I just want to welcome Mr. Masilla. Thank you for attending, and the rest of you as well. It's nice to see people here. And at this time, we're going to suspend tonight's regular agenda to allow for a presentation by our administrators.
Hello, I'm Carly Stout. I'm the principal at Brooklawn, and I'm joined by the other secretary joining as I started talking. I'm usually the lead-off swimmer here, so I'm Carly Stout. I'm the principal at Brooklawn, and I'm joined with the other secondary principals, and we are going to talk about service and advisory that goes on in all of our schools and what that looks like, and then we can answer any questions if you have anything. Let's see if I can. How do I do this, Johnny? I think it's on, but you're good. Maybe it doesn't like me. Maybe we're too far away. Is the piece in the computer? Yeah. Okay. There's only 4 slides, so we can just hit the one. So I can start talking about Brooklawn. So Brooklawn has weekly advisory periods every Wednesday. We have a different schedule, and every Wednesday students attend advisory right after their 3rd period class. Every student is assigned an advisory teacher when they enter Brooklawn, and they stay with that teacher and that group all 3 years. The goal of advisory is to be able to cover topics in real time that are affecting middle school students, also go over and review soft skills, as well as use this time for important assemblies. The other good thing about advisory is our goal is to have each student have at least one connection with somebody in the building. So whether it's their science teacher, their math teacher, their counselor, the principal, whoever it might be, this advisory teacher is another person that they have the ability to connect with. And it's been going very well. This is my 4th year at Brooklawn, and we've been doing this since then, and the whole process has been going very well. So some of the things that we've done so far. So in September, we use our advisory to do code of conduct assemblies, review the rules at Brooklawn. For our 7th and 8th graders, it's a review. For our 6th graders coming in, it's welcome to Brooklawn. These are our expectations. We also have some soft skills that we cover, which I'll go over in a second. And then we can use it for, like I said, to cover topics in real time. So in October, we had what we called the month of assemblies. So we had the prosecutor's office, I think the assistant prosecutor, Sam Denegri, who is a Parsippany graduate and went to Brooklawn. She came to Brooklawn Middle School, and she comes every year, and everyone sees her every year, and she goes over texting, if you put something in a text message that you can't take it back, what happens if you put something on social media, how even if it's up there for 1 minute, people take screenshots, etc. And she kind of goes over all of the dangers of that with them. We also had a HIB presentation to make sure that all students know what harassment, intimidation, and bullying are and what's going to happen if you unfortunately have to go through that process. We had the state police come in, and they spoke only to 6th graders, and that was more of, it's kind of like a watered down version of the prosecutor's assembly for the 6th grade, but they're new to social media, some of them, and new to phones and new to middle school, and just what that experience looks like. And then we had a presentation about Escape the Vape and just the dangers of vaping and what that looks like. So we had a month of assemblies in October. We also cover things, the guidance counselors can push into these classes, especially again for 6th graders, and review social skills. A lot of the 5th graders coming into 6th grade, they're kind of handsy, and that's kind of what they're used to, more of the elementary ways. And this is what happens at middle school. You keep your hands to yourself, you're not touching people, and kind of going over that. The counselors also push into these advisory periods, and they break it up so that they visit everybody, and again, go over social skills that happen at the middle school level. The other great thing we use advisory for is service projects. So this week we did, right before Thanksgiving, we did a food drive for the Parsippany Food Bank. And so we collected food and donated it to them. And then just yesterday, we did cards for troops. So the 6th graders made some cards. Actually, one of our teacher's brother is in the Coast Guard. So we made cards for all of his troops and all of his, the people in his department, and sent it to them. And lastly, what we use advisory for is soft skills, which it's kind of funny, but it's not at the same time. Like learning how to use Google Classroom, learning how to log into the student portal and see what your grades are, Going into your email and cleaning it out, making folders, moving things. Let's open up that backpack and throw out all the garbage. Let's go through our folders. Let's reorganize. Let's clean out our lockers. So in addition to that, we can use like ways of studying. And then the last thing we do with advisory is something that's happening in real time. So if something is, and I don't want to say affecting our school, but if something is happening in school that we notice that, hey, we need to get this message out to everybody, we can build a lesson around it. And most recently, we've been using ChatGPT, AI on the computers, and plagiarism. So we did a whole lesson, grade level appropriate, to teach them that, you know, you can't just take other people's words, put it into your essay, and get credit for it. And we did a whole activity with them. So we really enjoy advisory at Brooklawn, and they're going to talk about what they do in their schools, and we kind of all work together. But advisory has been very beneficial to us and building our community. So that's what happens at Brooklawn.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Graham, principal at Central. And in the interest of not being overly repetitive, we have a very similar structure when it comes to the advisory process. So what I thought I would do tonight is kind of share with you kind of the themes that we've been working on per month, and actually share you know, what an actual lesson plan activity actually looks like and sounds like. So Carly alluded to our 6th grade in September. Yeah, very much using the advisory as an introduction to the school. You know, our one-way hallways, all of the little, you know, nuances that make, you know, make the school, you know, what it is. Our 7th and 8th graders, and Carly kind of spoke about that, our 7th and 8th graders, we tend to start off the year with something that they really like to talk about, and that's all about me. They certainly do enjoy that. And, you know, from a selfish perspective, I will say we had an advisory day today. The schedule works very, very, in a very similar way to Brooklawn. But I got to tell you, I love the advisory days. Every staff member and every student is engaged at the same time, and it is so quiet and so nice. And you can walk around and you can, you know, you hear the videos going, you hear the discussions going. It's really, really interesting, but I'm not gonna lie, I really do enjoy the peace and tranquility of everybody being engaged in a classroom at the same time. It's a really nice way to start the day. Our teachers certainly have a lot of buy-in. We have a really strong committee at Central who looks at the lessons that were developed over the course of the summer with a teacher from both schools. They look at them, they kind of determine, well, like Brooklawn, what's going on in our school right now? Is there something that we, you know, a topic that we really want to address that we think is germane and pertinent and timely? And we would address that, you know, in that capacity as well. So we have planned things, but we also, you know, we also have things come up generically sometimes, which are almost, you know, just as good, and sometimes, you know, really useful as topics. Another really nice thing about it that I enjoy seeing is the teachers sharing resources when the, you know, the lesson plan kind of goes out, and it's not long thereafter where you'll see somebody saying, hey, I made this video, I made a slideshow, and the staff shares it with each other. And over the course of the last couple of years, I think they're really starting to build up a bank, you know, a nice bank of resources that they can utilize with these different themes and the different months. So we move into October, and everybody's back in school, and the theme tends to move towards stress and stressors, and mindfulness, dealing with stress, stressors in life. We address those sorts of things because the kids are starting to feel the difference between elementary school and middle school, or 6th grade and 7th grade, or 7th grade and 8th grade, as things, you know, tend to ratchet up in challenge and sophistication. So we address those in October. November, actually, I made a copy. I know that's something we really shouldn't do anymore, but I did make a photocopy just in the event that you would like to see kind of what the lesson plan looks like. So for November, for all of our grade levels, and some of the months we have different things for different grade levels. Some months that, you know, the topics tend to be the same for all 3. But for November, as you can see here, we kind of move into gratitude, which aligns with the theme of Thanksgiving. And teachers kind of have a choice. We give them a variety of different icebreakers they might use, so they can utilize that. And then they start with an entry question. What do you do when you're feeling sad, angry, upset? How could you change these feelings? And then the advisor begins by writing suggestions on the board and moving into the lesson which is kind of using gratitude to change people's attitudes. The activity, remember back to the last advisory when we discovered about gratitude and some ways that we can show it. Students will begin writing a gratitude journal throughout the month of November and December. And students will then work in small groups to create a gratitude ABC slideshow that they'll share at the end of the month. And for closure, kids are, we encourage them to remember to use this gratitude journal when they're having a negative feeling, use it to write in, express their feelings, and talk about things that they could do to change those negative feelings, and and share those sorts of things. And you hear references to the advisory as you're walking around. I just heard one literally this afternoon where I heard a teacher saying to a student, "Didn't we just talk about kindness this morning?" And dealing with a typical student interaction in one of our classes. So that's kind of what a typical lesson looks like. And as we move into December, we move into the theme of showing kindness to others, obviously, which aligns with holidays. And we sincerely hope that our students show kindness to each other and to our staff, and we try to model that as best we can. But the advisory program really, I think it's excellent. I think it's really appropriate. I think it's necessary, where we are at this stage of the game. There's a lot of things that our kids need help with, need advice with, need education in that aren't necessarily mathematics, science, English, those sorts of things. So it's really great to be able to see the teachers have those opportunities to discuss these things with them, not having to worry about a grade, and actually, hopefully learning important things for learning's sake. So we're very positive on advisory at Central as well. Thanks for your time.
I'm using Dr. Thompson's phone because I absolutely cannot see that. And these glasses on my head would not help. Oh. So my name is Melissa Crucci. I'm the principal at Parsippany High School. I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit over to service. This presentation is about service and advisory. The SEL skills that students need, teachers are constantly integrating those into real-life situations in the classroom, whether it's organizing themselves, whether it's having a conversation about how to work collaboratively on a project, whether it's settling some disagreements with students. As those things naturally happen in the classroom with students working with each other, those teachers are integrating those skills into those lessons. Because as our students and children get older, they need to be able to utilize those skills. So they aren't so much individualized lessons, but they are integrating them into real life situations. So I'm going to shift a little bit to the service aspect of this. I'm super proud of the fact that most of our service opportunities come from student suggestions. They come from our student clubs. They come from our grade level student council representation. We meet with our students in our principal student committee once a month. We also have students that come up and meet in the superintendent student committee. And we discuss what's important to them, what they're noticing, what things they dislike, things that they like, needs that they believe we have. And then we discuss solutions to those things. They bring up some great ideas. As Emily was rolling through everything happening at PHS, those things are driven by our students. And I say to them all the time, bring me your ideas, we'll talk about how to get them up and running. The students were asking about having some extra activities to promote school spirit, and that started the whole idea of the competition between the classes. So Monday night, we will all be there. I hope they'll all be there, students and staff, decorating the hallways together because they wanted to have a competition. They thought that that would drive some school spirit. But that came right out of a conversation that we had at our Principal Student Summit. So some of the things that we do monthly, we do have service nights. We create care packages for families in need. Coming up, we have the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society. They host a Light the Night walk to raise funds for leukemia and lymphoma research. So we help them prep for that walk. So we're building lanterns. We did it last year. They loved it. We helped them with a smaller amount, but they were like, can we come for 2 hours? Can you help us prep more? And we were like, absolutely, come on back. And that came to me through the young lady that is the manager of that project was a PHS graduate. So I found out that she was working there, reached out to her, and she was like, absolutely, we'll come in and do something together. We have lots of our clubs host walks down at our track, and there's donations for those walks, and then they come up with a society or an organization that they'd like to donate those funds to, and they do that. We have Pillows for Patients, is also a student that graduated from PHS. The family continues to support us and we continue to work together. So that's another service night that we have. Another graduate, I keep going through graduates of PHS and they keep coming back with these great ideas. Another graduate at PHS works in service as well, and we do a peanut butter and jelly drive. We literally have kids bring bread, peanut butter, jelly, and plastic knives, and we make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for an hour and a half. It's a little messy. The second year we used plastic tablecloths versus the first that we didn't, if anybody remembers. And we definitely had to clean up. But those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches get wrapped, and that night he delivers them to a homeless shelter. We have volunteer trips over the summer to Grow a Row, where we actually go and farm and help them. It's a not-for-profit organization that owns hundreds of acres of land, and we go there with the students and they work on the farm for a few hours, and we help pull corn, pull corn. We've pulled in irrigation systems before. It's hot in the summer, but then we do it again in the fall. And then we also go to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. We volunteer, the kids come, we hop on a bus and we go to Community Food Bank of New Jersey, and we give them hours of our work and service. We also, more and more, have been reaching out to our middle school and elementary schools because our students love going back there. So as elementary schools and middle schools need volunteers, they shoot us an email, they say we need 20 or 30 students, and just some that I can remember off the top of my head, we recently went to Rockaway Meadow, I believe it was 2 Saturdays ago. We sent about 20 students down there that volunteered, and they had their craft fair, and they needed some older students, and they went down there and they volunteered their time. And then they always love going back to Central Middle School, and they helped decorate for the Halloween dance. Going back to everything that kind of Emily was running through, our leadership clubs and organizations, Student Council, Honor Society, our academic competition teams, they're constantly looking for opportunities to give their service, not only compete for themselves, but donate to organizations and give their time. I mentioned our SEL instruction is embedded into the classroom instruction as real life, as it becomes needed in the classroom. And then something that I'm really push is the communication home with the families. We've had more and more families and younger siblings coming up to our service nights. I'm really strong about the more we get the younger students into our building, the more they'll want to be there as high school students, because we have a ton to offer. And I continue to reach out to our middle school principal and then also to our elementary school principals to remind them of these opportunities that we have. So we also had a rock painting night where we invited the elementary school students to come up and do that with us, with their parents. So these are all things that, although I have a hand in organizing, they're coming my direction from our students because they really have the drive to be leaders. And we're always looking to enhance that with students that, we might not always recognize them as that A+ student, but they have those leadership skills, and we see them when we try to cultivate them for them. So that's what we're up to at PHS. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Thompson. Thank you. You can turn the page for you.
Hello, I'm Matt Thompson, the principal at the Hills, and I just wanted to share, start off with some leadership opportunities that I think we do particularly well at the Hills. The first is our Peer Leaders Group, and they play a big role in bringing our freshmen into the building. They're involved in the freshman tours in the beginning of the year, and then they organize and run the Freshman Fun Day during the year, and that's a lot of icebreaker things, a lot of things that help the freshmen get acclimated. One group that stemmed from some new students in the building talking about just getting acclimated to the building and transferring in and the difficulty of transferring in, we created kind of a subcommittee of the peer leaders, and we call it our Viking ambassadors. So they work with the counseling department, and every new student that's enrolled is assigned a Viking ambassador, and then we have one student that has a pass that escorts that student around the building, gives them a tour, eats lunch with them, and just kind of gives them that first week to kind of meet people and be introduced. And they do a fantastic job with that, and the counseling secretaries do a great job of helping coordinate all of that. Our student council plays a huge role within the community building, working with the student body for our pep rallies. They do the toy drive and coordinate the student body for the toy drive. And the student council a lot of times is our go-to voice to find out how things are going. And many of them are involved in lunch with a principal, where they'll come in and kind of give us some feedback about how things are going during the course of the year, suggest some changes. And our peer tutors for National Honor Society, Math Team, and Spanish Honor Society, they do a tremendous job of putting a form out, and they are up in the media center. They're after school. The students sign up, and then we find a mutual time for that student and that tutor to be linked up and to meet periodically in the media center. They do a great job with that. And all of our clubs have some kind of outreach into the community. Just recently, our Asian American Club assisted with a trunk or treat at the Parsippany Pal. Our race club did the Littleton Buddies program. Our Interact Club did veteran awareness, canned food drive for the food pantry, and several other drives during the course of the year. And our National Art Honor Society did face painting at the Mount Tabor Carnival. Another thing that we've used the past 2 years is the New Jersey School Climate Inventory, and that's run through Rutgers. We had probably 85% of our students take that survey, which is a pretty healthy sample. We take those results, and then we meet with the Culture and Climate Committee. We have a faculty committee that kind of gives the admin team feedback, and that's a focus group that just we ask questions off of the highly rated items and the low rated items and just kind of get more feedback. We use lunch with the principal and the Culture and Climate Committee with the students to get feedback on the student survey. Obviously the parent survey is big too, and we doubled our entries with the parent survey in this last year, so that's a great tool. One of the survey items that came out of last year was the SEL questions about particular items that the students wanted more attention with. We have a new student assistance counselor, Jason Worcester, and he did a tremendous job this summer of designing a SEL curriculum, which we are piloting this year with volunteer teachers, and the students are giving us feedback about those new lessons. And before SEL was integrated into the classrooms, but I think we all agreed we wanted some guaranteed themes throughout the year that we knew all graduates were leaving with, and that's kind of what we're piloting this year. And as always, I always steal from my other administrators, and as Melissa said with the newsletter, Melissa had to give me a tutorial on the newsletter, but I totally stole her idea, and that's been a tremendous asset as well. So, thank you.
Thank you all. Board members, do you have any questions for our principals? Ms. Golder?
It's not a question, but Mrs. Carucci, if the kids also go back to Central for Shining Stars. They help decorate and set up, and then some of them even come back and help, clean up afterwards. So they do a great job. So, but thank you to all. I mean, this is great stuff that you guys are doing at the school.
Correspondence. Is there any correspondence to come before the board?
No, there's not.
Is there any unfinished business? No unfinished business. All right. So we're up to committee reports. You want to start at that end of the table, Mr. Raya?
Okay. I'm just reporting briefly on the Parsippany PAL. The last time I met was during the summer. The last couple of meetings that they've had, we've had conflicts with our board here, or committee meetings. So they issued a summary of the last meeting. They're financially, they're in good shape. They just completed their audit, and the times I've been there, the programs have been well attended. They have a variety of different programs, and I did notice the collaboration with the Asian American Club and the PAL, so that's great. I am saddened that apparently the boxing program is not doing well. So I would hope there's a change in that, or perhaps there'll be some marketing that maybe it might improve that situation. But that's it. Just a quick summary.
Thank you. Mrs. Orm?
Yes, so policy met on November 27th, myself, Mr. Rea, Ms. Chappelle, Mrs. Kogan, and Dr. Sutter and Joni Bennis were in attendance. We have 4 policies on this evening's bulletin for a first reading. All of the policies that are presented were drafted to align with each other, so that was one of the major revisions that took place. We also took advantage of the opportunity to talk about New Jersey CUSAC, because in the agenda that's prepared by Strauss and Esme, they had talked about referencing back to New Jersey CUSAC, so we took an opportunity to go over what that was in the committee so that the new board members had a better understanding of what that was. So, any questions?
Thank you. Mrs. Mayor, I don't think you have one, right? No. Mrs. Golder?
Okay, so critical issues met on November 20th. Present were myself, Mrs. Abraham, Mrs. Mayer, Mrs. Kogan, Dr. Sutter, and Mrs. Bennos. What was discussed was we were discussing developing a code of governance. The committee reviewed the draft general operational guidelines and will revise to further review at the December Critical Issues Committee meeting. We also discussed vaping in the district schools. The committee discussed the current vaping issues in the district and reviewing material from the board attorney. Further discussion will take place at the December committee meeting as well, and our next committee meeting will be on December 20th at 5:30.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito?
Thank you. Buildings and Grounds did not meet. We were updated via email from Ms. Tedesco about Littleton, regarding Littleton construction. The contractor is currently excavating for the stormwater pipe installation. The excavation is going as expected and will potentially be done by the end of the week. Pending weather conditions and the completion of the stormwater piping installation, foundations will potentially begin at the end of next week. Project is currently 102 days behind schedule due to permitting delays, as well as from the excavation that had to be done due to the bedrock encountered in the stormwater piping location. And that is all I have for Buildings and Grounds. Thank you.
Any questions on Buildings and Grounds? Mrs. Abraham, I think you have 3 different reports?
Yes, thank you. Please bear with me, I have a few. TLC met on November 20th, and attending were myself, replacing Mr. DeVito as chair, Mrs. Mayer, Mrs. Golder, Mrs. Kogan, and Dr. Mulrooney. We discussed the books for approval. There were 3 books that were discussed. Next, we discussed the new course proposals. 9 new courses were recommended, and 1 new course, Lifetime Fitness, is changing from a full year to a semester course elective. In addition to that, course selection bulletins, which will now be referred to as courses of study, are both ready to be sent to parents. New courses have been tentatively added to the middle school and high school after November 20th's TLC meeting for the final board review and approval on 12/14. Efforts have been made to make the courses of study more user-friendly for students and parents. Intervention programs, all 14 schools have been given $15,000 from Title I and ESSER funds to develop before or after-school programs to support at-risk students and to address areas of academic need. Programs will begin in January. The high school brochure highlights specific high school programs that we are proud of within our high schools, including, but not limited to, STEM pathways, dual enrollments, athletics and cross-curricular, AP course offerings, summer advancement, senior internship programs, college placements, and these will be posted online, shared with middle school parents, and used at community events. Inquiry updates included asking about whether cursive will be included in the future, and we are reviewing free resources to pilot the teaching of cursive with second grade through teaching centers. The Google Suite versus Microsoft Office was excuse me, also discussed, and Microsoft certification can be earned through Business Comps Apps 1 and 2. The elementary progress reports are changing their indicator language, and it will be emphasizing standards-based instead of grades, and we are continuing to review progress report language versus state standards. We will be looking into deeper thinking focus groups and continue to meet to look at teaching strategies and perspectives, focusing on questioning specific activities and the different aspects of teaching that impact deeper thinking, such as expectations, language, time, modeling, routines, interactions, and environment. The middle school committee will be adding sixth grade 21st century skills quarter course for the 2024 to 25 school year, and we are not making any adjustments to the bell schedule at this time. And last but not least, the Parent Night, a parent caregiver guide to mental health, was on Tuesday, November 21st at 6:30 at the PHS auditorium. They had offered free childcare, and they are also planning another parent night on vaping for the winter. And that was my TLC report. And moving on to CPAC. The CPAC committee met on December 4th and 5th. On December 4th was in person and December 5th was virtual. Present were myself and Mrs. Kogan, as well as Mr. Courtwright. On December 4th, the in-person was discussing moving on up to the east or west side, transitioning to middle school. It was led by learning consultants Andrea Kornberg from Brookline Middle School and Diane Pierce from Central Middle School. It described the hours of middle school periods, subjects, electives, world language, and marking periods. It also provided information on lunch, transportation, locks and lockers, middle school parent-teacher conferences, and physical education. Provided also the student handbooks for both schools, including sports paperwork and course selection for the district. They also expanded on different programs that are available, such as co-teaching, resource room, LLD, MD, MDA, BA, and Strive. The case managers and guidance counselors remained the same throughout the middle school years, including Amy Lynch at Brookline and Teresa Mulrooney at Central Middle School. We'd also touched upon NJSLA testing and modifications, opting out for parents, and VOTEC using NJSLA for their admission decisions. And in addition to that, we spoke about additional services such as counseling, OT, PT, speech, paraprofessionals, and ESY. On December 5th, we had a virtual meeting, and it was led by Jerissa Masico of the ARC of New Jersey, and it was entitled, Yes, Your Child Can Work, Working Towards Employment for People with IDD. And it's part of the Planning for Adult Life How at Home series. And IDD stands for Intellectual or Developmental Disabilities. They discussed two different topics. One was called Before Graduation, and one was called After Graduation. And just to touch upon before graduation, they spoke about creating a foundation such as completing tasks, skills, interests, experiences, and networking. They discussed a transitional vocation services, including updating the IEPs with transition services and courses via the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, or DVR. In addition to that, they spoke about setting expectations and starting to prepare as early as possible, and as well as who, what, where, why questions at home, the school, and the community. And after graduation, they spoke about entitlement programs, which are school services, and by law, the agencies are required to provide services, and they're administered until the determined age or date, and transportation is provided by the school. Within the eligibility program, which is for adult services, agencies provide services to those who meet qualifications, and they're administered until the person is no longer eligible. In addition to that, transportation is the individual's responsibility. They also spoke about on-the-job support for school transition and on-the-job support for adult support, where items such as assistance is available for students that are answering to the school staff, and there are also more supports and modifications. As far as the adult support, a job coach is available, and services are designed to fade depending on the individual, and they do answer to a supervisor, and there are not as many supports. Last but not least, they spoke about networking resources and agencies, watched several videos of students and adults at work, and following them through the programs, and explained the different relationships that have developed from the employment experiences. And at the end, there was a Q&A. And that was the CPAC report for December 4th and 5th.
Before she goes on, are there any questions on those first two? Sorry.
Okay, thank you. And the Communications Committee met on December 11th. Present were myself, Mr. DeVito, Mrs. Chappelle, Mrs. Kogan, and Mrs. Benos. And the committee discussed the following topics. The committee reviewed the press release that was sent out regarding the pilot programs and agreed that we stand by the statements made in accordance with our demographic report. The committee reviewed the ad hoc development minutes, and Mrs. Chappelle will speak to them at today's meeting. Board President Mrs. Kogan has given an update on the meeting with the mayor, and will give an update at tonight's board meeting as well. Two, we have also discussed to work collaboratively with the town council. We spoke about coordinating a meeting with members of the town council to put out a combined FAQs about the pilot programs. And that was my communications report. Thank you.
All right. So my official report about the meeting with the mayor was that we did meet, Mrs. Golder and I, and Dr. Sutter and Mrs. Tedesco did meet with the mayor about the pilot projects that are going on in town. Not a lot was finalized. We asked for another meeting, which will hopefully happen soon. And that was pretty much our meeting. So my update. Are there any questions on Mrs. Chappelle's communications minutes? Oh, Mrs. Abraham's, sorry. Now it's Mrs. Chappelle's turn.
Thank you. So on November 27th, the Ad Hoc Developments Committee met. Present were myself, Mrs. Orm, Mr. Rhea, Mrs. Golderer, Dr. Sutter, and Mrs. Benos. And just to remind everybody, this is in response to all of the new students that have been coming in as a result of the residential construction that has happened over 2018 to 2023, and that's anticipated in what's been recently approved by the town council. We discussed all of the building that has happened, which is anticipated, that has happened in town, and the impact that it's going to have, or that it has had, and it will have on our school district. We discussed some options that we could start to explore as to how to accommodate all those students, and that included discussions with the pastor at St. Christopher's Church, as they have facilities there that have not been used for many years, and that may be an option. We have Mrs. Tedesco was looking into open land and buildings that are available, so that's something that we're exploring. And in addition to help with our research on this, Mrs. Benos provided the last demographic study and the framework for addressing demographic issues that we had the last time they went through the cycle. The next meeting we're going to come together is actually, it says December 11th on here, but it's actually going to be December 18th. And there are some updates that we've had, but hopefully we'll make some more progress before that next meeting. In addition, if it's okay, I would like to talk about when I attended the council meeting on December 5th. Before I go there, does anybody have any questions around the Ad Hoc Developments Committee? Yes.
So we already know about a number of developments in town that are completed, and they've already started sending students into the district. Have we, one, got a clear combination of numbers that we maybe discussed in the next meeting of the numbers we are already seeing, actual numbers, versus what we know is what we, from the demographic study, what we anticipate? Would that be maybe something you're going to discuss in that next meeting, I hope?
That's right. That's part of the information.
And then in addition to that, two of the very large developments, one was already an approved pilot, 1515 on Route 10, and Lanedex Plaza right down the street. Those are both very large developments that are already in construction, and they're going to be online very soon. So I'm hoping that we move, kind of work with the township as best we can here to be prepared for those influxes, which is significantly more than the three I just mentioned that are already online. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So I attended the town council meeting on Tuesday, December 5th. If for those of you who were not able to attend, the video is available for the entire meeting, which lasted 5.5 hours. The majority of the session consisted of speakers from the public who shared their concerns about the pilot programs recently approved or still under consideration. And they also shared information that they gathered through their own research or experiences about pilot programs and their impacts on other New Jersey towns. And in some instances, they've even asked questions, clarifying questions about the pilot program so that people were fully informed, so people were fully aware and informed about what pilot programs are and how this one was designed specifically. The town council arranged for Avalon, the developer, and the developer's lawyer, John Iglesino, and a financial presenter to share information around the finance details for the 30-year pilot programs, which will go into place for Pomeroy, which is a commercial development, as well as 2 and 3 Campus Drive, which are anticipated to bring 410 residential units. The public sessions were opened up after each of the, the public sessions were open after discussions of each site, where again, the public mentioned their concerns, shared information, and asked questions, and in some cases, implored the council to postpone their vote to allow more time to consider the additional information that came to light during that meeting. The council ultimately approved all 3 with a vote of 4-1 on each site.
And their next meeting is?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Thank you. Do we have any questions from our board members? It's obviously an ongoing discussion.
I mean, we still have to go to,
Yes, but that's, yes. She said. Okay. All right. So that is all of our committee reports, correct? Yep. All right. The approval of minutes is on our bulletin, but since the board members have not had time to look at them because they were not in our board packet, we are going to skip the approval of them and approve them at the next meeting. So we are up to the superintendent's bulletin, number 10, Dr. Sutter.
Thank you, President Kogan. Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you to Brian Satch from Video on the Go for his tireless efforts in helping the students of Parsippany. Brian's latest idea and creation involved taking Miss Bimby's class into the Video on the Go studio to create a commercial for Central Perks Cafe in the theme of the Friends Show. Brian is also creating a series of student success stories featuring students who participated in the senior internship program. Brian invited me to his inaugural project at 3D Pets in Boonton to watch the video filming, and it really was a great experience. I want to say thanks again, Brian. Dr. Thompson, Ms. Carucci, Dr. Mulrooney, and I attended the second Superintendent Student Advisory Council meeting at Parsippany High School on December 8th. I enjoyed speaking with the students because they provide me with great insight and feedback. Also, they are really just a great group of kids, students, and they're well-mannered, and they're very polite, and they're full of energy. Finally, I want to take a moment to recognize Ms. Debbie Orm, Mr. Matt DeVito, and Ms. Kendra Von Aiken for their commitment and dedication to the Board of Education. Your unwavering support for our schools and community was greatly appreciated. On a personal note, I will miss the laughs we shared, the friendships we developed, and just seeing you around the CEC. I wish you continued good health and look forward to seeing you in the near future. In closing, I would like to wish everyone a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season with your family and friends, and I also want to wish everybody a happy new year. Tonight, for your approval, we have Superintendent Bulletin items 1 through 38, with addendum and read-in items 39 through 50.
Are there any questions on the superintendent's bulletin? All right, the secretary's report, Mrs. Tedesco.
Hi, everyone. On tonight's Secretary's Report, we have our regular business motions, including the approval of the June 30th, 2023 audit. The audit was completed and submitted to the state by the state mandated deadline. The district received no recommendations. There will be a presentation in January of the full audit. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. I just want to thank you, Mrs. Tedesco. We'll have a chance in January too with the actual presentation, but to have another audit go through rather quickly, and obviously no recommendations says a lot about you and your department, so I just wanted to thank you.
It was a hat trick.
All right, new business, we want to congratulate Mrs. Abraham, who received her new board member boardsman certification through the New Jersey School Board Member Academy, which is not a small feat, so congratulations. And as Dr. Sutter mentioned, we have 2 board members who will be leaving us. This is their last meeting, and Mrs. Orm, who is retiring. Mrs. Von Aiken is on the phone. Oh, 3 members, yes, sorry, 3. Mrs. Von Aiken, Mr. DeVito, and Mrs. Orm. Mrs. Von Aiken, do you wish to say anything before we talk about you?
I do, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So first off, I'm very disappointed that I can't be there in person. I've had this trip booked for about 6 months now, and I just couldn't avoid it. I'm truly sad to be leaving the Board of Education. My journey started 5 years ago when there was a vacancy on the board, and I went for the appointed seat. I didn't get it, but I was committed to running in the next election. 3 elections later and 1 win, plus an appointment earlier this year, and my time has come to an end. I really wanted to serve 3 more years, but the stars were just not aligned. I've put my heart and soul into this position, working hard to enrich the education of our student population. The last 3+ years have been filled with turmoil between COVID and politics seeping into board business, but I feel this board worked to push forward and get to the other side. My wish for the new board is to continue to push forward and not go backwards, to keep the political noise at bay and focus on the role, doing what is best for all the children of this district. Keep the lines of communication open, keep challenging each other in positive ways, and bettering this district each year. I will miss being a part of these meetings and working from the inside, but now I get to look at things solely through the lens of a parent. Allison, thank you for the direction you've taken the board in with your leadership over the past several months. I wish Dr. Sutter success as he continues to get comfortable in his role as superintendent, and thank you for those kind words before. I thank all of the administration and fellow board members who have guided me along the way to make me a successful board member. I will miss working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to say anything to Ms. Von Aiken? You don't have to. Mrs. Goldra?
Well, Kendra, we've known each other for a long time because we're Northville parents, and I have always respected and admired your dedication, the effort that you put forth towards everything that we did here on the board, and you know, I wish there were more seats on the table, but there aren't. So. You know, I know that you will still continue to be, you know, a voice for the students, and you know, you still have the kids in you know, in our schools, and making sure that that you stay involved. So, but thank you, and I really respect your work ethic and yourself.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Mrs. Abraham.
Thanks. Kendra, last year at this time I said I'd probably see you again on the board, and I did. I want to thank you for being here the last 5 months, running again, and for your hard work and dedication to the board, the district, and the community. It certainly does not go unnoticed. You've kept an open mind, challenged us to think outside the box, and have always been kind and willing to help out. And the genesis of recording our public meetings began with you, and I'm glad you were here to see it come to fruition. Thank you for your commitment, your service, and the time, and I wish you and your family all the best in the future. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Mrs. Von Aiken, you definitely have been a consistent and persistent advocate for ensuring that our diverse community is represented in our policies and our practices. So I want to thank you for your time on the board through many difficult years, as you mentioned. I definitely hope to see you at our meetings in the future, and that you will be involved for many years to come. Thank you for your service. All right.
Thank you. You can't see it, but I'm tearing up here.
Mr. DeVito?
Thank you, Mrs. Cogan. First, I'd like to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the voters of Parsippany, so that of those that in 2017 and 2020 voted for me to represent you. I would like to thank my wife, Christine, and our 3 children for all their support of these past 6 years of serving on the board. A lot of late nights and missed things that I could have been there for them. I want to thank you to Dr. Sutter, Ms. Tedesco, Ms. Benos, and all the other staff in the district that have helped over the years in helping me have informed decisions on this board. I want to say thank you to my fellow board members, with those with experience that I've served with over the years, those that have left us many years ago. And especially want to recognize now that those newest board members, Mrs. Abraham, Mr. Rea, and Mr. Chappell, for bringing their fresh perspectives as newer board members in their first terms. I want to wish best of luck to Mr. Barrios, Mr. Chaffo, and Dr. Wright as they begin their new term in January. I'm confident you will all keep your best interests of the students, staff, parents, and residents in mind when weighing your decisions on this board going forward. It's bittersweet that I'm leaving this board today, as I've enjoyed serving our community these past 6 years. I think I've tried my best to serve on this board by adhering to Dr. Calabria's mantra of God, family, board, country. I don't look at this as a goodbye. It's more like I'll see you on the other side of the table, as I will continue to make myself aware of what is happening by attending the meetings as a member of the public. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Goldberg?
I am sorry to see you go. You have been an incredible. I'm really jealous about how well you you know our bylaws and policies, and the research that you do, and again your commitment to the district, to the you take your work seriously, and that's very important on the board, so that you know we all can get our work done that way when everyone does their part, and I know that you will continue, and I know that serving on the board is a big sacrifice. It's Jeff's birthday and my anniversary, and here I am. So, we all do what we need to do, and I'm going to miss you, but I know that I am going to continue seeing you, and again, just like with Kendra, you still have kids in the district, and I know that you will always be committed to the district for that very reason. But thank you for everything that you have brought to the table.
Thank you.
Mr. Rea?
Matt, I'd like to thank you for your kindness, your patience, and your mentorship. For me, being a rookie, not every question that came out of my mouth was an optimal question, let's put it that way, and you were very patient with me over the past year, and I appreciate that. And we are going to miss your wisdom, and I've made this statement before, that it's great to have people that are experienced on the board, and I do appreciate the wisdom, and the town was well served by your service to the town. Thank you.
Mrs. Abraham?
Thank you. Matt is who I call the expert on Robert's rules all the time. You always win the Jeopardy game at the workshop. I just wanted to thank you for all your time, your commitment, your service to the board, again, this community, this district. You've always been a great listener, like Jack said, with the patience of a saint, and have offered some good advice if needed. You've always been a voice of reason and helped us think of solutions in a different light. And I've learned a lot from you, and I've enjoyed attending all of these committee meetings, our workshop sessions, and county meetings with you. And during some difficult times in my personal life this year, you've been there for me, and I'll never be able to fully repay you for that. Congratulations on also becoming a master board member this year. And you will definitely be missed, but I hope you'll decide to serve again and that you'll come visit us often in the meantime. And I wish you and your family all the best.
Thank you.
And pretty much everybody has, you know, mentioned it, Matt, but thank you for all the time that you have spent taking classes and coming to all the committees and the meetings. It is not an easy task when you have children in the district and young families, so thank you very much for putting in the time. Okay, anyone else? We're good. We're up to the retiring Mrs. Orm. Yes, second go round.
Well, I just wanted to briefly say it's been a real honor and a privilege to serve this community in this capacity and to serve alongside of some really stellar board members and some administrators who just are top-notch. And we're very blessed to have the administrators that we do in this district and the dedication we have from our fellow board members. So I really wasn't prepared to say much. I just, it's bittersweet to be saying goodbye. I thought I'd be cheering out the door, but I really am going to be sad to miss working with all of you. This year especially has been an opportunity for me to learn from two of our newest board members what a great opportunity we all have to bring different perspectives to the table and to hear each other and to learn from each other and to challenge each other to do better. And I think I'd like to leave that as a challenge to all of you, to learn from each other and to challenge each other to be the best you can be and to constantly strive to do better. So, and thank you all for serving alongside of me and having me here with you.
Good, Mrs. Golder.
So, as I said before, the last time you left, we weren't always on the same page. We were not always in agreement, but I always respected your work ethic and how you were amazing in teaching and learning when we actually had to read all of those booklets. And I was so impressed, you know, with the care that you took, and I mean, work ethic, you know, impresses me, and you impressed me with that, and the fact that you were willing to listen, you know, you were willing to hear the other side, not always in agreement, but with an understanding word. And you know, we got to work again together, and it was exactly the same way, you know, and you took over policy, and Jack loves you. Not that way, please. You know, he's as impressed as I am as to how you handle, you know, policy, and I know that you will continue to be around, okay, and thank you really very much for your service, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Susie. That was very thoughtful. Thank you.
Mrs. Mayer?
I wasn't prepared to speak about each board member individually. I recognized all three of our retiring board members as valuable people that have inspired us, have worked with us. At times we didn't always agree, but we came to a conclusion for the best thing for the community. I feel like we're losing our archives here. Debbie is our person who remembers when, which is a very helpful thing, as well as her nice way of dealing with things. I will miss Matt and his questioning and his Robert's rules, and Kendra, who always probes, who's always asking, and it always serves her well as the board. I really, really will miss all of them. I wish them the best, good health, and a happy new year. And I wish that our incoming board members, we hope that everything will blend together and we will all work together for the community and for our students. And again, thank you three. You will be missed, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Judy.
Mr. Raya?
Allison, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Kendra.
Thank you. Debbie, I just want to say how much I appreciate working with you for the last couple of years. You have brought a lot of insights, made me think, challenged me. We don't always see eye to eye on all the issues, but we talk it through. I go away, I think about the different angles and come back, sometimes with a different understanding or a different viewpoint. So I thank you for pushing me and for being open-minded and working hard on this board over all the years. I will miss working with you, but I'm sure that this is not the end of seeing each other. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Kendra. That's very thoughtful.
Mr. Raya?
Yes, Debbie, I'd like to thank you for your service to the town and for your leadership on the policy committee. We don't, unless you've served on the policy committee, you don't realize the amount of work that's involved in just preparing for the meetings. And through your leadership, we always came prepared to the meetings. And I'm very proud to say that we always came away with a better product. We would have like a list of policies and regulations, and we always came away with a better product, and as due to your leadership. So I thank you. And best of luck to you.
Very kind. Thank you, Jack.
Mrs. Chappelle?
Like Judy, I just plan to address all three of you together, if that's okay. So I would like to thank you all for your service to the board. I am truly blessed to have had the opportunity to work with all three of you, and I have learned something from each and every one of you at every meeting we've had. I think it's been just a phenomenal experience for me, and I couldn't be more grateful for having that experience and what you shared with all of us. I will take a moment, though, because I have to say a special thank you to Mrs. Orm, who has been a great mentor to me, like Jack. It's going to be really hard to beat this year in the policy committee. It has been just an exceptional experience where you have really set the mark very, very high on how we operate together, the expectations that we have for ourselves to make sure that we come prepared and ready to deliver, and as Jack said, make something better by working together. So thank you so much for all that you've given your time over the board and to all of us, but especially the time you've given me this past year.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it.
And on behalf of the board and the district, I just want to present this to you. Everybody said everything I was going to say, especially the TLC with reading a million things, and you taught us to do it right. So thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you all. That's very sweet. Can I open it?
Yeah.
Very kind. Oh, I didn't expect to get to cry today, so. I may come back to retire again.
No more kids.
Oh,
We only
very
got one
sweet.
more
A red
person.
plate.
The
Oh, a
red
red
plate.
plate.
That's a good
Oh,
plate.
yes, that is. Thank you.
If you don't know the history of the red plate, please ask at the end, because she will be glad to tell you the history of the red plate.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. Thank you.
That's the good plate.
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, we are up to the hearing of the public. At this time, if there is anyone who would like to address the board, please come up, sign your name and address, and write your name and address in the book, and state your name for the record, and please address the chair. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak to the board. It would be helpful if you would like to address the board to please come up now and sign the book so that you are ready when the first speaker is finished. As a reminder, we are video recording this meeting. If you are a student who wishes to speak, we ask that you do not provide your home address, but rather give only the name of the town in which you live. If you are a parent wishing to discuss a specific matter pertaining to your child during this portion of the meeting, you may request that the board temporarily suspend the video recording. Alternatively, please consider speaking privately about the matter to the superintendent after the meeting. Speakers should refrain from using specific student or staff names in their comments and are referred to bylaw 168 for further information regarding the videotaping of our meetings.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to start with saying happy holidays to all of you before the new year. I know this is the last meeting before the holidays. Excuse me. And secondly, I want to wish a farewell to all the board members that are going. We have met throughout the whole year, and it was really a privilege to kind of be here and work with every one of you. And I wish the new board members coming on board good luck, and hopefully they can put up with our request and with us in general.
Please don't forget your name for the record.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And my name is Lamia, and a Parsippany resident. I'm a child, so I'm not going to put my address. I'm just going to. My address. I live at 4 Ambler Way. So I attended a town hall meeting yesterday about the pilot program that's happening, and I'm kind of concerned as well as a parent. You know, I attend the PTA meetings, and a lot of, you know, when we're there, you know, we don't have space, right? Like, they're trying to have events. Some of the schools, the elementary school, like, they have tremendous amount of number of kindergarteners that are coming. So it's concerning kind of having all these pilots coming. So I'm not sure from a board's perspective, how is that gonna, you know, like what the board is planning to do? Can we kind of reverse what has the damage, I guess, if we're gonna call it that? The other, I know someone is watching the time, so I'll speak a little bit faster. So past April, Governor Phil Murphy, he had signed a bill to have January as the Muslim Heritage Month. So I wanted to know if there is anything that will be planned as a district to kind of have some awareness. It's called Muslim Heritage Month. It's in January, the entire month of January, not a specific date. So I just wanted to know if the district will have any planning to have awareness about that. And lastly, I think that's enough for tonight. So I understand there's a lot of people. All right, thank you and happy holidays.
Hello, my name is Dolores Delazzo, and I'm a resident of Parsippany. We've been living here for 27 years, and we've seen quite a bit of development. I also became aware of the pilot program, and I heard Michelle speaking about it. And maybe we should give pause of what is actually coming into the community because of a planned development. All the other areas have an elementary school within their walking distance or with relatively close. Now, we do need housing for this area. There's a lot of vacant. They talk about St. Christopher School. To have the development, but have them incorporate a school within that development area. Actually have a desirable area, because those children and the parents don't want their children on a bus for an hour to be across town, or for this one, or shuffle here because this one has too many. Let's put a little hut behind to accommodate the children and let them walk, you know, across the snow or whatever. There's enough room. I understand that what town needs revenue. We need taxable, because the taxpayers are being squashed by the amount of money we are required. The seniors are gonna be forced out because we're income, or now you're on a retirement plan. I worked for the school, Parsippany Board, as a school nurse. I understand firsthand how many children come to you when they are in need, and I'm looking at the report here, and these numbers are much higher than when I worked. You're over the 400, approaching 500 for the elementary schools. It's hard on the school nurse, you know, having one for all that. But anyway, maybe it is time to give pause, and the pilot program, look at the numbers of how much they're supposed to be putting into the school district. Look at the percentage of monies for the sewer hookups, for the electricity pole that they're gonna be utilizing. And it may look like a lot of money for these developers at the first, but Parsippany is the town to be. I like living in this town. I like being able to have my children walk. from one school to the other without so much pressure to meet that school bus. And I think the generations to come also deserve that. So if we have, I can envision such a nice community where that office space is, if they could put sidewalks in, a little path to the library because it's right there. These are all usable features. We are going to have to do Section 8, I understand that, but even those parents don't want their children on the bus because there's no sidewalks to get there, because there's no safe way, or be an hour on the bus. For any child, I think is very difficult. And for one person on the city council to vote against it, it gives you, it reminds me of 12 Angry Men.
Please
Give
finish up your
pause
statement.
and think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Nick Imburis. Thank you, President Kogan, Dr. Sutter, and esteemed board members for allowing us to speak tonight. I too would like to speak about the pilot program, and I know that you're working on this and working in conjunction, but I think it's important for the public to hear some of the numbers that we're talking about. In the recently approved 2 and 3 Campus Drive projects, right now, currently, just on that property alone where there's no students, the school board is getting $277,000 a year. If they built that project, that would increase, under the standard tax, that would increase to $1.5 million a year. Now, according to the Taxpayer's Guide to Education, you may correct this number, it costs Parsippany approximately $19,000 per student here. So that would only cover 69 students in 410 units, which again, even that seems very scant, like it's not going to be able to happen. But under this proposed pilot program, we wouldn't get an increase. It would still be at $277,000. So, and that, no matter how many students in there, we're not getting another penny to fund that. And so over the 30-year term, we would have lost revenue of $56 million. The town would actually get an increase, the municipal side, of $22 million, and the other $42 million would go back to the developer. So that's only one project, and as Mr. DeVito had spoken about, we had Lanadex 1550, and there's 6 or 7 new pilot programs that are coming online, so we're talking of hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're losing as a school board to fund the students that are coming in. And currently, at this rate, every new project is getting a pilot. So any new funding is being circumvented and going back to the municipality, and we're getting 0 for the school board. That obviously needs to stop. Unlike the school board, who has, I believe it's a 2% cap, we have a dearth of funding from the state funding formula. And we have no, despite being impacted, we have no representation during these negotiations. I am happy to hear that you are having meetings, combined meetings, and hopefully we can get a seat at the table so that we can get the appropriate funding. I mean, I don't know what can be done for the ones that have had already been signed, whether there can be an injunction or some kind of legal precedent to halt it until we can negotiate it. But I believe that we have great people on this team, and I know you're going to do the right thing for the students of Parsippany, and I know there's a large percentage of the public that's behind you 100%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things. First,
Say your name, please, for the record.
yeah, it's Andy Chaffo. Thanks very much. To Kendra, to Matt, and to Debbie, I just want to thank you for your service. It's not easy putting yourself out in the public's eye and being under a microscope to make decisions. Over the years, I think, Deb, I've known you the longest and probably served with you. You're the date person, so I'm not sure. It was probably 2005 6, okay. So that's a long time. Sometimes we disagreed on issues, and it could be contentious at times, but one of the things that I am certain of with Kendra, with Matt, and with Debbie is their intent, regardless of their position, was always to make the best decision on behalf of the students of this district. And for that, you've earned my eternal gratitude, my respect, so I really thank you for that. Relating to the pilots, so that ship is sailing, and it's sailing away quickly. 3 pilots have already been approved. I believe unless there can be some impropriety shown in how they were approved, to try and reverse them is near next to impossible. And there's 6 more on the horizon. So I just want to encourage the board to lead from the front on this issue. This is not something that's going away. The municipal government seems to have a tone-deaf attitude on this. There are thousands of residents who are upset about the impact it's going to have to the town. Our rateable base is not increasing, it's going down with pilots. As Mr. Gomberis mentioned, just on that one project, there's tens of millions of dollars at stake. Councilman Musella apologizes. He had a prior engagement at the District 1 firehouse, but he was also going to implore the board to explore whatever remedies may be available to it for future pilots to at least see if there's a way to slow this down. Negotiations are important for the first 3 because, again, those are already approved on a second reading. But for everything else that's still out there, if there's a way to put the brakes on that from a legal perspective, I would encourage the board to pursue those actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, we'll close. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Come on up.
Yeah. I want to wish a happy holiday to everybody.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
My name's Norbert Prost, and I live in Parsippany. And I'm against the pilots. I mean, it's like for 30 years, and the school's going to get none of that money. So the school board, I don't know if they can. They should try everything in their power to oppose this. And if there's any kind of legal remedy they could take, because you're being affected by this. And you're also taxpayers. We're taxpayers. I mean, where's that money going to come from? I mean, these programs, these pilot programs, they're meant for places like Newark and Camden, where nobody wants to go. I mean, nobody wants to build a business in Newark. I worked for Broadridge Corporation, and they got a huge tax break just to go over there. When I was working there, I wouldn't even drive my car to Newark. I took the train. I mean, that's what it's not for a place like Parsippany where everybody wants to go. The person that's getting the money for 30 years, like a 75% tax reduction, is the developer that's a multi-billion dollar corporation. Why are they getting that money? I mean, I'm totally opposed to it, and I'm not going to vote for anybody in future elections that's in favor of these pilot programs. And I'm talking to all my friends and everybody I know, and I'm just like totally opposed to it. Thanks.
Can everybody who spoke please remember to sign in the book as well?
Elaine Gavalius, and I am agreeing with everybody that came up and spoke about the pilot programs. And I strongly urge the board to do whatever it can legally to halt this process, this voting that's going to be happening on the 19th. Maybe there could be an injunction. I attend the meetings, and they basically don't care. They don't care what people say. I mean, there's so many of us that go up there, so many, and they just do whatever they want to do. And I just think it's wrong, and I just urge you to take some kind of legal action against this. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Christine Garcia, and I've been a resident of Parsippany for a long, long time. And I just found out about these pilot programs. I didn't know anything about them. I was here at the meeting yesterday, and it was really good, but I had a huge education. I didn't know anything. I don't know if pilot is an acronym for something, but a guy came up yesterday and said pilot really means Parsippany in lots of trouble. And I kind of believe that is really what's going to happen. If we engage in these pilot programs, we're going to lose a lot of money. I bet you we're going to lose a lot of people. You know, we're going to have a huge exodus of people because they don't want to have to deal with the financial burden, you know, the overpopulation. Who knows what's going to come here? And I just don't know who would approve of this. I mean, there's no win. It's a complete. I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to be too dramatic, you know, but I just think it's really, really stupid to have the council members, except for Justin, thank God for Justin, to vote for it. Why would they vote for it? Why would anybody vote for such a thing? Why would you vote to shoot yourself in the foot? That's what I want to know. So is it? And then I got someone said that the Board of Education wasn't even involved in approving it. So I want to know why, what is the Board of Education going to do? Are you guys going to do anything to stop this? Can we reverse it? I mean, people here are saying, oh, no, now there's nothing we can do. But there's got to be something we can do. Nothing is final. The fat lady hasn't sung. Okay, well, that's all I have to say.
I feel the same way. My name is Ivan Ferris, and I live in Rainbow Lakes. I have 2 grandchildren in the school. My son and my daughter, they went to school in this district. My daughter is very well situated here in Parsippany. Now we're gonna have these pilots. It's like we're selling ourselves to the devil. And this is happening. It's going to get a lot of people leaving this beautiful town. We are settling here. So I'm very, very angry what's going on. And I wanted to know if the board is going to do something, is going to get on board on this and try to do something. Something has to be done. Another thing is what we have to do is we got to stop somehow for the other 3 pilots that are coming in. We cannot do this to happen in Parsippany. Now I want to welcome Andy and Tim Barrios to be on the board, and I think it's a great value for this board. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alan Zalazzo. I'm a resident of Parsippany, 27 years. And first of all, I'd like to thank everybody here for your service. People are leaving. I've been on the board of a major Connecticut museum and vice chairman, and you guys are in a lot more spotlight than I ever was. So thank you for your service. Question I have, the 3 pilots that are approved, the money that we get from them, how much goes to the Board of Education for education? Is it the 63%? It's nothing.
We can answer at the end, but.
Okay,
So go ahead and answer.
that was my question, and a lot more oversight on this. This is not kosher. Okay, thank you, and happy holidays, everybody.
Nancy Chaffo. Yes, I was also at that meeting. I would like the board to come as a whole to that meeting next week and speak out against these pilots. We need everyone on board against them. They're not good for the student. They're not good for the township. They're not good for the residents who pay taxes. I believe that you will still get a percentage of the property tax for the buildings, which is a very minute. I believe they said it was $174,000 that they pay taxes on those properties, just the land, but nothing that they build on the land. And that's the problem. I would like to know if you can come up with figures about how many children will come out of those developments, how much it will cost the township, not the township, but the Board of Education to educate them, bus them, feed them, take care of them, and put buildings up for them. Whether it's, trailers coming to the schools, or how much that's actually going to cost, because that's going to fall back on the taxpayers. And I would like you to bring it and present it as best as possible to the next council meeting next week, because we need everyone on board. We have a past board member on that council who voted for this pilot when asked not to. We have a mayor who understands what is going on here, and we need to get to the bottom of it and protect our children and the taxpayers as well. These kids need to be educated in decent-sized classes and not, using money where it shouldn't be used. We need it in the classrooms that we have. If you're bringing in more schools, build another school. I know St. Christopher's was mentioned, but I also know there's standards in the state, so you can't just move into a school that's vacant, because I know how expensive it is to update that school with the state standards. So I'd like to get some kind of figures that maybe someone can come up with figures and come to the next township meeting next week before they make a final vote on all these pilots. Thank you.
Okay. Now I think the public session is closed. Dr. Sutter, would you like to respond to?
Well, I can respond to Lamia. Lamia, I'm going to check with the principals to see what we have in store for January. I'd like to thank Ms. Zalazio. Thank you for your bringing these points to us. That's why the Board of Education met with the mayor, and they want a second meeting with the mayor. Some of the things that you expressed are on our mind as well. With the rest, can't really answer because there was really no questions. Just we know what we have to do. So thank you. Oh, there was a question about how much you get. I'm going to turn that over to the money people because I'm not quite sure.
For pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes, which means this town is making an agreement with the developer so that they only pay the taxes on the land portion of their property, which they're currently paying now. So it is not changing any of the money that is coming in to the township or the district for those properties. And so we are getting 63, whatever our percentage is, of the land taxes on those properties now and going forward. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but pilot agreements are only between the town and the developer. The school district does not have any part in that process. So that is why we are meeting with the town, because that is our only recourse, is to meet directly with the town and try to convince them that we will need funding to accommodate all the children that are coming from residential pilots. Ms. Gilfillan, would you like to fill anything I did not correct?
You hit all of the pertinent points. The question about pilots going forward and having board members or a representative of the board at this, at the table to discuss that really has to do with the impact of what is expected from each of those schools and having the township take that into consideration when they negotiate those pilot agreements. And that is a negotiation between the township and the developer. It is accurate that the board has no say in that, but really what we have seen in some of the other municipalities is some form of shared agreement where they would pay for something related to the education of the schools. So that is certainly where we're hoping to
They being
go.
who? The township?
The township, correct. So I do want to just be very clear about that, and I think we will, the board is certainly discussing its options with respect to moving forward and as well as the ones that are presently on the table.
So while we completely appreciate you coming and expressing your views and feeling comfortable doing that, I would encourage you, if you feel comfortable, to also go to the township, because they are the ones who really can do something about this at this point. Right, and somebody did mention going to the PTA meetings and that is part of getting the word out, because a lot of you just found out about this recently, so you have to think that a lot of maybe your parent friends and your neighbors are still not aware of what's going on. So, you know, making sure that, you know, you are helping to get the word out. We did do a press release. Our press release did have numbers in it on the pilot program that was being heard in the beginning of December. So those numbers are out there. And as we mentioned in our communications report, those numbers, you know, are pretty solid. So they are out there. Anybody? All right.
We have to keep in mind that our attorney has said that other districts have had some type of agreement with the township, okay? But there are a lot of agreements that have been made but have not been met, because what has happened is that these developments have, once they're built, first of all, you have a development of 400 units, of which only 8 of them are affordable housing. And how that number is helping us meet our quota that we need for affordable housing, I'm not sure, but that's a side note. What has happened in a lot of these towns is that the revenue that the landlords were expecting are not being met, because the rents are so high, people can't afford them for a long time. So there's a lot of vacancies, and so that in turn they are not meeting whatever numbers they need to meet. And as was, as is explained by a lot of community members even, that we are basically we're going to be in the negative, because there is absolutely nothing that we as a board can do to force our township to negotiate, give us a portion of the money. Okay, we are basically at their mercy, and once they approve these pilots, and the same thing happens with not just us, but at the county level, at our the fire department, and as is being said, one of the things that I have personally said is, Parsippany is becoming a metropolis. At some point. And this was 2 weeks ago, I said at some point we are going to need to consider not having a volunteer fire department, but a paid fire department. And now my understanding is that literature has gone out in that they are considering, actually doing that, bringing in a staff for the fire department. So you can imagine the costs that's going to come for that entity, that division, and again, with no promises from the township that any of that tax money is going to be given to them for any of those purposes. And to say 30 years down the road, the council members that are there today that are voting on this, 2 of them are retiring, and then what happens to the others? Will they be there 30 years from now? I don't know, but it is something that the community has to take very seriously. I personally don't want to see trailers in our parking lots. And having, our children have to put on their coats, go out, get reading, and then come back in. It's a serious situation when you're dealing, Montville Montville, Mount Olive, their referendums didn't pass. And, with Montville, it was only one development, one pilot that was approved. and they needed to put forth a $70+ million referendum, which the community did not approve. You know, what's going to happen to us, you know, when there's that many? So if if everyone is really concerned about it, you know, you have to show up. Thank you for coming. We'd love to see you some other times too, not just for for the pilot programs, but if you have to show up to you have to show up to the municipal building. You have to you have to knock on their door. You have to go to the on the 19th they have the the next council meeting. I mean, everybody has to show up, and they have to say, this is not what we want for our town. So we just have to be very, very careful. But thank you.
All right, so we are up to the roll call vote on the superintendent's bulletin number 10, items 1 through 38, with addendum items 39 through 50. May I have a motion? Mr. DeVito, and a second. Mrs. Orm, roll call, please.
Mrs. Abraham? Yes. Mr. DeVito?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Mrs. Orm?
Yes.
Mr. Rea?
Yes.
Mrs. Chappelle?
Yes.
Mrs. Von Aiken?
Yes.
Mrs. Golderer?
Yes.
Mrs. Kogan?
Yes. All right, that passes. As this is our last meeting in 2023, I just want to extend my wishes for everybody to have a happy holiday season, and I hope everyone can relax over winter break and come back in January rested and recharged. It has been my privilege to be president for the last few months. I want to thank my fellow board members for the professionalism and willingness to work together as a board towards bettering the district for everyone. The last few months have obviously come with a few challenges, and together as a board, we have made progress, and I hope to continue that progress in 2024. We are not quite done. I would like a motion to go into executive session for attorney-client issues. Action may be taken at the conclusion of the executive session. Can I have a motion on that? Mr. Rea, and a second. Mrs. Golderer, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we are in executive session.
Just a little sweets. Everybody put my sweets.
Bye, Kendra.
So, that little white.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Kendra.
Safe travel. Enjoy your
Little
trip.
white bag is just from.
Here you go.
No, it's from. It's just from Candy. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. This is very nice. Thank you, Jody. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome. Just a little nothing, you know. Right, I know, right? Ooh, it's cold in here. It is chilly in here.
Now we need the ornament with the cocktails. Yeah. Sorry, Oh, Brian, is that out?
I'm gonna put it on.
It's not recording.
It's not open yet.
It's not open.
No, we're not open. It's there.
Who ate my, the other part, John? I came and he had already started snacking on my,
On your cookies?
no, on my
Oh.
the cereal thing.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. She's,
Oh my
I
gosh.
told you.
yes, you are done.
Imagine if it was spiked. Thank you. Ooh, are we on?
I had a feeling.
Can I have a motion to reconvene public session? Mr. DeVito and a second. Mr. Raya, all in favor of reconvening?
Aye.
All right. I believe we have a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Mrs. Chappelle?
So this will be a resolution of the Board of Education of the Parsippany Troy Hill School District regarding continued residential development within the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills. Whereas the Board of Education of the Parsippany Troy Hill School District, the board, has vehemently objected to the granting of agreements allowing payment in lieu of taxes, pilots, for residential developments within the township. And whereas the latest pilot agreements approved by the Township Council include developments known as 2 and 3 Campus Drive, and were passed in a manner which does not account for the impact of the pilot agreements upon the school district. And whereas the board is not entitled to any share of the pilot monies, nor will it receive any additional tax revenue from the improvements to be developed on those properties. And whereas the board has considered and sought legal advice relative to its options to enjoin or the approval and or implementation of the anticipated ordinances approving the foregoing pilot agreements, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby directs the Communications Committee of the Board to develop and publish a statement relative to the impact of the expected increase in students from continued residential development on the board's policy class size, a decrease in funding for sports and extracurricular activities, and the district's music program, and the historical data from the prior residential developments.
Do I have a second for her motion? Mrs. Orm? Any discussion?
This is in, oh, sorry. This is in addition to the communication that's gonna come out of communications, correct? Like, or is this telling us to do it?
This is telling us what should be included in that communication.
Okay, so this is basically what drives us to do that.
That's
Good.
right.
Okay, just clarifying.
Anyone else? All right. Can we have a roll call vote on the motion? Oh, wait. There's somebody here to roll call vote. Yes, Mrs. Dyker, sorry. Mrs. Abraham?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Orm?
Yes.
Mr. Raya?
Yes.
Mrs. Chappelle?
Yes. She's not on the phone.
Mrs. Golder?
Yes.
Mrs. Kogan?
Yes.
Motion passes. Can I have a motion? Oh, there being no further business, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mrs. Golderer. And a second, Mr. DeVito. All in favor?
Aye.